sex hormones. All right, insulin is the hormone that tracks glucose. Sex hormones like estrogen affect our bodies in so many ways. This is Robin. Robin called me up one day, and I was sitting at my desk, the phone rang, and she said, Dr. Barnard, I need your help. I need painkillers. I can't get out of bed. I said, what is the problem? And she painted a picture for me like this. She said, I'm basically being tortured by menstrual pain about one day every single month. I can't function because of it. The medical term for it is dysmenorrhea, but it basically means menstrual cramps that are fairly common, but for about 1 in 10 women, they are so bad that you really can't function very well about one day every month. So we had heard that foods might affect our hormones in a variety of ways. Now, we heard this not because of research on cramps. We heard this about research on breast cancer. And researchers had wanted to know, how can we reduce the estrogen hormones, because estrogens can drive some cases of breast cancer. Researchers at Tufts University brought in 48 women. They gave them a variety of diets, and they cut the fat. They increased the fiber. And what they found is that if you just cut the fat in their diet alone, that's all you did, estrogens dropped. Estradiol, estrone, free estradiol, and estrone sulfate. These are various kinds of estrogen. They fall. Fiber, if you increase it, that reduces estrogen as well. So when Robin called me up, I found myself thinking, wait a minute, she's got cramps. I'll bet that means she's got a little bit too much estrogen in her blood. That's causing these symptoms to be aggravated. If we can cut the fat from her diet, increase the fiber, maybe her estrogen level will come down and she'll have less pain. So I suggested, let's do this. How about no animal products for the next month? Keep oils really low. Let's see what's happening, see how you do over the next month. And for the next day or so, I'll give you painkillers just for right now. But then let's see if a diet change will hold you for the next month. She called me up and said, this is the most miraculous thing ever. At the end of the next month, she had no pain at all. And the month after that, and the month after that. But if she loosened up her diet a little bit, the pain came back. Okay, so that was convincing. So it's very simple. What I suggested for her to do, no animal products, minimize oils to see if menstrual pain can go away. We ended up deciding to put this to the test in a large group of people. Working with Georgetown University's Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, we brought in women who had menstrual pain. Half of them started the diet I just described. The other half were taking a supplement that was in fact a placebo. And then after 2 cycles, 2 months, they switched. The diet group started the supplement group started the diet. And what we found was striking. We published the results in a journal called Obstetrics and Gynecology. And in a nutshell, the diet works. Pain fell, the intensity of it fell, and also the duration fell, and not just pain, but also the PMS symptoms, like water retention and bloating and moodiness. All of these things got better. And in the course of this study, we had an interesting experience. We asked all of the women not to use birth control pills or any other hormones, because this was a study to see how foods affect hormones. And one of the women in the study said, don't worry about me. I don't use birth control pills. I don't use any contraception at all because I'm not fertile. And she said she and her husband had been evaluated years earlier. She said, it's not him, it's me. I don't ovulate. So she didn't use any kind of hormones, and she thought, all right, no problem. The second month that she was on the low-fat vegan diet, she came into our research center. She said, Dr. Barnard, I've got some bad news and I have some good news. And I said, what is it? She said, the bad news is I'm leaving your study. The good news is I am pregnant. That's right. She gave birth to a healthy baby, and I saw her several years later. She came to one of my lectures. She now had 3 children. She was not infertile. She was out of balance. So let me back up. I know we've talked quite a lot about how foods can affect hormones. Let me see if we can make some sense of this. During a woman's reproductive years, her hormones are a bit of a roller coaster. For the first 2 weeks, as you see on this graph, the amount of estrogen in her blood rises to a peak, and then it suddenly falls. This is when she is ovulating. An ovary is releasing an egg. Then over the next week, the amount of estrogen rises again. And that's because the uterus is the most optimistic organ in the body. Every month, it's convinced we're going to get pregnant for sure. Well, the reason it's doing that is it wants to get the uterus ready for pregnancy. But after that third week or so, the disappointed uterus discovers we are not pregnant after all, and the amount of estrogen falls, and the uterine lining is discarded, and the next month it starts again. But all of this can go up or go down based on what you eat. As I mentioned earlier, high fat foods cause more estrogen to be produced. High fiber foods cause less estrogen to be produced. All right, let me show you what this looks like in your body. This is the uterus in the middle of the picture. And off on the left and the right, you see the ovaries, and they are connected by the fallopian tubes. All right, in the uterus, see that pink lining there? Every month that will enlarge, thicken up, because estrogen says, all right, we might get pregnant this month. Let's thicken up that uterine lining in anticipation of pregnancy. Estrogen drives that change. If you have too much estrogen in your blood, what we believe happens is that lining thickens up too much, and then it starts to produce prostaglandins that really hurt, especially as it breaks apart in menstrual flow. And as Robin was describing her symptoms to me, I thought that's what she's got. She's got too much estrogen, too much thickening, too much prostaglandins, too much pain. All we did was bring in the fiber, get away from the fat with a vegan diet, and the estrogen came down, and that helped her symptoms. Really, really simple, right? Okay, so how can foods really get my hormones into balance? Okay, so we talked about the study results at Tufts, and other studies have shown exactly the same thing. Fiber reduces estrogens, fat increases estrogens. Very simple. All right, you see this red sort of triangular organ at the top? That's your liver. Your liver gets rid of excess estrogen. Did you know that? Your liver takes the estrogen out of the blood and it sends it through that green bile duct into your intestinal tract. And your intestinal tract conducts that unwanted estrogen all along, and then out with the waste it goes, and you're literally flushing unwanted estrogens down the toilet. But here's the thing. If you don't have enough fiber in your diet, that's not going to happen. Let's say you ate fish for lunch, chicken, steak, yogurt, milk. They're not from plants. They don't have any fiber. Animal products don't have fiber. If you don't have fiber in your intestinal tract, the estrogens won't stay there. They end up being reabsorbed back into your bloodstream, and they end up back at the liver. Let me make sure you understand that the liver pulls the unwanted estrogens out. They go into the intestinal tract. If fiber is there, it carries them away. If fiber is not there, you reabsorb them. And most women in North America don't have very much fiber in their diet, or at least not as much as would be really helpful for them. And so they are recycling their hormones minute after minute, hour after hour. Once you start a healthy plant-based diet, the fiber in those foods interrupts that cycling and gets those unwanted hormones out of your body. Pretty good, huh? Okay, I want to make sure you're paying attention. Spam, fiber or no fiber? What do you think? I gotcha. Spam is from an animal. It's not from a plant. Animals don't have fiber, only plants do, so it's got no fiber at all, right? Here's a trash can. There it goes. Okay, KFC, fiber or no fiber? Okay, there's no fiber in the chicken, but there's a little bit of fiber in the carton. If you're going to eat the carton, you might get a little bit of fiber. Okay, I'm sorry, we're going to get rid of that. Away it goes. How about this? There is some processed food that started out as maybe a plant, but it was processed so much it really doesn't look like much of anything anymore. So we're going to get rid of that too. All right, it helps to boost the fiber and it helps to cut the fat. Anything else that I can do? Yeah, there is one other thing, and I want to tell you a story. This is Catherine. Catherine grew up in Louisiana, and she was an Air Force aerospace engineer. And back in 2003, Catherine was sent into Iraq to build military bases. And when you're in a war zone, You're working pretty hard, long hours, and you're eating only what the government provides. You do not gain any weight there. As soon as she was sent home after her tour of duty, though, her friends and family said, Catherine, what did you miss when you were in Iraq? Let's go out and eat. And you know what she missed? She missed cheese, mac and cheese snacks, all kinds of cheese things. And so she tucked into cheese. In fact, a friend of hers gave her an entire case of mac and cheese dinner. I'm not kidding. 48 mac and cheese dinners, which she ate for 48 days straight. She gained weight. She also developed a syndrome called endometriosis, which is where the cells that line the uterus are now escaping, and they're implanting around the abdomen. They attach to the intestinal tract, to the ovaries, to the fallopian tubes, and it can cause real problems. It can cause pain. It can cause infertility because they can strangle the fallopian tubes and destroy the ovaries. This was her problem. She went to the doctor. Painkillers didn't work. Medicines didn't really help her very much. Hormonal pills didn't work. The doctor said, well, the only other option is a hysterectomy. Just take your uterus out. Well, Catherine was 27. She and her husband were kind of newlyweds, not so sure that they wanted to have a hysterectomy at this point. They hadn't raised their children. But her doctor said, look, in all likelihood, the endometriosis has made you infertile anyway. You got nothing to lose by a hysterectomy except your pain. So somewhat reluctantly, she agreed. But before she could have the hysterectomy, she went to see a nutritionist who gave her effectively the menstrual pain diet that I had prescribed for Robin. Vegan, no animal products, keep oils really low. Catherine did it. She started to feel better, a lot better. And 6 weeks later, the date for her hysterectomy arrived. She went to the emergency room. And even though she felt better, she said, I think I'm going to go through this procedure because I'm already infertile, says what my doctor says, and I've got some pain left. I'm a lot better, but there's still some pain there. I think I need to have this operation. They anesthetized her. And an hour later, she woke up. She was in the recovery room. And the doctor was there, and the doctor explained to her something remarkable had happened. As he had looked inside her in the operating room, through a laparoscope, which you make a little incision in the abdomen, you look inside, he said, your endometriosis is practically gone. And the reason that you had some pain was that you had scarring where it used to be, and you had some adhesions, and I just freed up those adhesions, but I think you're going to be okay now. I don't think you need a hysterectomy. I didn't do the hysterectomy. You still got your uterus. And she discussed the fact she had changed her diet. Doctor wasn't having any of it. He said, foods don't cause this disease. In fact, this can only be a miracle. Well, I want to praise that doctor for not taking out her uterus. But what he missed is the fact that when you increase the fiber and cut the fat, estrogen levels fall. And when estrogen levels fall, there's less pressure for the endometriosis to continue, and it can regress and it can go away. Okay, so she lost a lot of weight. She wasn't infertile. She has 3 healthy kids, and she now teaches other people how to improve their health, how to take back their own health as well. Okay, now I mentioned cheese. Catherine loved cheese. Does cheese have hormones? Yeah, it does. Cheese comes from a cow, and cows are impregnated every year on dairy farms to maximize their milk production. And when they are pregnant, they are milked into the pregnancy. They're milked every year. They give birth, they are milked, but they're also then impregnated fairly soon, and they are milked well into the next pregnancy. Here's why that matters. A cow produces estrogen anyway. The estrogen gets into the milk. But the longer the pregnancy goes on, the more milk gets in, the more estrogen gets into their milk. When you drink a glass of milk or eat a slice of cheese or have a cup of yogurt, you are getting estrogens from the cow. That's right. There is no hormone-free milk. It's all got it. Okay. Now, what about soy? Some people are nervous about soy products. They think, gee, maybe soy could contribute to cancer risk. What they're thinking about is isoflavones like genistein or daidzein. These are isoflavones that are in soy products and they attach to estrogen receptors. And so that made people think, gee, well, it's kind of like estradiol. Maybe it will cause cancer. Well, researchers looked. A meta-analysis of 8 different studies in Asians and Asian Americans showed that a high soy intake was actually associated with reduced risk of breast cancer. Those women who consumed the most soy milk, tofu, that kind of thing, had 29% less breast cancer risk compared to women who were ignoring soy. And women who had had breast cancer in the past, if they were high soy consumers, they had about a 25 or 30% reduction in the likelihood of dying of their cancer. So soy products reduce the risk of getting cancer and reduce the risk of dying of cancer if you had it in the past. Soy products seem to be okay.